All-star voting is announced. First round and first wave. So we get our first look at where the Marlins guys are landing in all of the votes thus far at all the positions, apart from the pitchers, of course. And there is a clear leader and a National League position leader. The Marlins have a chance to have hitter for the first time in years. We're going to dig into all of the updates on the National League All-Star voting and as well get into some of these injury news. There has been a ton of announced changes or updates on the injury side. That may take half an hour in itself. Nevertheless, guys, All-Star voting and injury updates in advance of Game 1 against the Rockies.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Marlins, your daily Marlins podcast with me, Peter Pratt. Of course, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Miami Marlins_UK. It's right there on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, subscribe. There's over 100 subscribers now, so that's great growth. Only a few weeks into the channel, but thanks for everyone with the support, the comments, and the love on YouTube. And as well, don't forget to subscribe on whatever podcast platform you listen to. We're a daily podcast, Monday to Friday. There's 5 episodes a week. Make sure you subscribe so they just automatically appear ready to rock and roll. Don't have to worry about downloading them on the train when you haven't got the signal. No. Automatically get them downloaded. As well, apologies for yesterday. The audio quality, for some reason, not good. I don't know why. Something went wrong, made it a little bit tricky to listen to, patchy. I apologize. I hope you got the main gist of the conversation and you managed to make it through. If you didn't, I apologize for that. It's the first time it's happened. I'm not sure why, but nevertheless, hopefully today is better. If it isn't, then I'll have to dig even deeper into this one. But thank you for sticking with me. Welcome back. And as well, thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. And this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto, an amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. Guys, as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to dig into the updates, the first round of updates on the National League All-Star voting. And unless you've been living under a rock today, you will know that Jazz Chisholm is leading the second base voting. Yes, Jazz Chisholm leading the way at second base. Ozzie Albies in second place. Ozzie clearly won't be playing in the All-Star game after his foot surgery, so I'm intrigued to see where those votes go. And listen, Ozzie Albies, he's second in voting. He was not having a great year by any stretch. I think, it's below average probably for Ozzie Albies. So he was just getting, I guess, the Atlanta fanatics as you have piling in. But listen, Jazz Chisholm is leading the way at second base. Not a surprise for 2 reasons. Jazz Chisholm, he's having a stunning year. He's having a stunning year this year. He's been brilliant for the Marlins. He really has. The power, the speed, the swag, you name it. And that's the second reason too. It is just a swag overload from Jazz Chisholm. So many people across the league just love Jazz. The amount of times I've seen various tweets about how Jazz is great for baseball, and we had this hoo-ha a few weeks back about locker room issues and people hating Jazz and all that kind of guff. But what you did see off the back of that was a lot of people coming out in support of Jazz Chisholm. He's good for the game. He's young, exuberant. We want to see those kind of guys, and I'm delighted, absolutely delighted that Jazz Chisholm is leading the way at second base. There's a few other positions that I'm going to dig into as well that I thought were very interesting. But listen, Jazz has 50,000 votes ahead of Ozzie Albies. Albies, like I mentioned, now on the IL, won't be going to the All-Star game for sure. In third spot is Jeff McNeil for the Mets. And whilst Jazz has had an absolutely stunning year as well, so has Jeff McNeil. We obviously just seen him in the weekend series. Jeff McNeil is outpacing Jazz. If you look at, he's got a 143 OPS plus. He's hitting 327, Jeff McNeil. So if you like that kind of hitter, if you just like a straight up hitter, He's had 74 hits. He's got 2.4 WAR. Jazz has got 2. But only 4 homers and only 2 steals. So, Jeff McNeil, if you like that type of guy, I can understand it. OPS plus is good. He's on base. He's hitting. All good. However, no speed, no bombs. I mean, Jazz Chisholm, rightfully so, is miles ahead. This is a fan vote, and fans are going to be voting for Jazz Chisholm all day, every day. There's a big drop off then to Gavin Lux and Gorman, Jake Cronenworth. Actually, go and have a look at Jake Cronenworth. He's having a stunning WAR season, no doubt. He's like in the top 20 in WAR across the whole league. So Cronenworth having a great year on that front, but way behind Jazz, 500,000 votes behind. So listen, Jazz Chisholm, I've said it weeks ago that I think Jazz will make the All-Star team. I think he'll be voted in, and I don't see anything changing there. It's been a great year for Jazz. 13 home runs, 11 stolen bases, 131 OPS plus, an OPS itself of 830. It's been great. And as well, the other thing I saw, the defense has been miles better for Jazz, miles better defensively this year. So that shouldn't go unmissed. That he's really upped his game. I remember last year, so many balls reading him up at second base. Think back, Jazz was a shortstop. He was, played predominantly as Miggy Rojas is clearly there and locks it down. And Miggy's an elite shortstop and elite glove. So if Miggy's playing, he's playing in short, no doubt. So he transitioned to second. It's taken some time, but for me, it looks nice now. It looks Jazz and the defense has been good. He was always throwing himself around in the field last year, if you recall. And it was kind of, there'd be flashy plays, but there'd be just some big errors. And he's really cut down on them errors. So defensively, Jazz is much improved. He started out scorching as well, as we all know. And has kind of had a little bit of a slump in many ways since, but still the numbers are stacking up here. Jazz is going to be the starter at second base for the National League. I'm pretty confident of that. I just can't see Albies going past him now. He's hurt. I just can't see the sexiness with McNeil. Like, he can keep on hitting. Plus, McNeil hamstring injury yesterday as well against the Marlins. So who knows? He may be out and the rest too far away. So Jazz Chisholm's going to make it. Let's dig into a few other positions, though, in terms of where the Marlins could potentially make a run or not. But before we do that, guys, reminder that this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. And Rock Auto, with the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure the often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? Doesn't make sense, does it? You've got access to rockauto.com. Use it. Use it. Get yourselves on there, because you're going to save time and money. Time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Doesn't make any sense. Rock Auto makes all the sense. It's a family business. They've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. 20 years. Their prices reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpets. They've got it all. Go and explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. So, what have you got to do? Where have you got to go? rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in the How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. It's an amazing selection, reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need is rockauto.com. Okay, guys, so that's Rock Auto, and get yourselves over there. Listen, if you got auto needs, car needs, they sound like they've got everything. Get yourselves over to there. So, what else is happening in the voting? What else have we seen? And it's an intriguing vote and an update, because Jazz clearly, this isn't just a Marlins vote. This is a league-wide vote, right? Jazz is getting a good chunk of the voters that clearly aren't Marlins fans too. And absolutely should do. He deserves it. Let's start and dig into catcher as well. What's happening at catcher? Wilson Contreras is miles ahead in this one. I think rightly so. I think Contreras is going to be voted in. Travis d'Arnaud in second. Yeah, I'm looking at the top 10 in terms of votes here. Thanks. No Jacob Stallings. That's probably right. That kind of sums it up as well for Stallings. It's been an upgrade for the Fish defensively, but not sexy enough with the bat. That is for sure. JT Riamuto, interestingly, seventh Real Muto. It's not been a good year for him, I wouldn't say thus far. Yanni Molina there in third. Let's get on to first baseman, because the Marlins, we have some good first basemen, no doubt. Has any of them cracked the top 10? They have. Jesus Aguilar is on the list. He's in the top 10. He's in the short list, let's say. It's quite a long short list, to be fair, at 10, but he's made the short list with 64,000 votes. Leading the way, Paul Goldschmidt, 930,000 votes. Oh, he's got a little bit of room to go, Aggie, to catch Goldie. I think Goldie's a lock there. In second, just a mere 300,000 votes plus behind is Pete Alonso. And Pete Alonso having a stunning year as well. That just shows how amazing Goldie has been at first base. But great to see Aguilar there, 10th at first base. Aguilar, as I mentioned yesterday on the episode, the Marlins, they absolutely have to move him pretty much ASAP. They have to. It's time. If you didn't listen to the episode or couldn't get through it because the audio quality wasn't good enough, let me just summarize my thoughts. Aggie, the Marlins, there's going to be no extension for Aguilar. He's going to be, his contract is going to run and expire, and the Marlins won't extend him. They have a player at first base that they need to get a look at. We've had a look at the last couple of games, Lewin Diaz. They need to do exactly what they did last year with Corey Dickerson. Move Aguilar. If they can get a nice piece or two back, absolutely. What a bonus. But it's time to see Lewin Diaz. This season for the Marlins, they're not going to make any noise. They're unlikely to finish above 500, in my opinion, at this point. And it's not going to be good enough for the postseason. It isn't. There's too many other good teams around. The way the league is weighted, it's too many good teams and too many bad teams. 500 is not going to get it done this year for the third wildcard spot, in my opinion. So the Marlins, they absolutely should be moving Aggie. He's the 10th best first baseman by voting anyway. So second base, we've already touched on. Jazz, I think, will actually win that vote. Third base, oh boy, there could have been some candidates here for the Marlins, but unfortunately, no Marlins in third base. Pacing the way, unsurprisingly, Manny Machado has been sensational. Not sure on his injury list. He is absolutely miles ahead of Nolan Arenado and Austin Riley in third. Justin Turner in fourth. That kind of sums it up. Justin Turner's having an absolute shocking season for the Dodgers. I think he's got a 600 OPS or something. He should be nowhere near this vote, particularly the top five. But nevertheless, he is. And no Marlins on this list. Would have been really interesting to have seen, Brian Anderson, Joey Wendell, if they'd have had a full run. And listen, the other guy we need to call out. Where's John Birdie? Leading the league in stolen bags. John Birdie should be on the list at third base. He should be. He's playing well, doing his thing. I guess it's maybe a step too far for John Birdie. Shortstops. Does Miggy Rowe crack it? What do you think? Top 10. Miggy Rowe, is he on the list? Bad news, he's not on the list. Miggy Rowe offensively has not been good, as we know from Miggy. It's been coming around actually recently, but way below par for Miggy. In general, the glove has been sensational. However, Trey Turner pacing it by quite a distance. Dansby Swanson in second and Frankie Lindor in third. Listen, shortstop there in the NL. It's stacked. Tommy Edman, though, in fourth. I mean, I think Tommy Edman's leading Major League Baseball along with Sandy Alcantara in terms of WAR. So Edman's in fourth. It's a real tough ask there at shortstop, but no Marlins there. Designated hitters. DHs. Do the Marlins have one? Yes, they do. Garrett Cooper. Cooper Loop is there in ninth. Cooper Loop in ninth spot in the votes now. 60,000 votes for Coop. Love to see it. However, Bryce Harper pacing the way. He's just slightly under 1 million votes ahead of Garrett Cooper there for the DH spot. I don't think it's going to be, however good he's been thus far. Bryce clearly locking this one down. Injury status up in the air. William Contreras, though, interestingly, is in second spot here for the Braves. Obviously, the catcher turned DH, turned just, straight up hitter this year. William Contreras doing his thing. To see the Marlins, they do have Cooper in there. At DH, deserves to be on the shortlist. He's had a great year, as well as Aguilar at first base. He's equally had a nice year as well. Outfield guys, surprise, surprise, there are no, as we know, it's been a little bit of a struggle at times for the outfield. And just on that, hearing from Don yesterday, talking about Solaire and Avi Garcia specifically post-game, just saying those guys, Solaire's been kind of dealing with back issues for a few weeks now, working through that. Avi Garcia, as we know, missed a couple of days with a hand injury. I think Donnie also called out the fact he's had a hamstring problem, something else. These guys seemingly are kind of playing through the pain barrier right now. The problem is the production quite there either, and so I'm really intrigued to see what the Marlins do. The lineup is not yet announced for tonight's game with the Rockies in Game 1. I'll touch on that shortly, but lineup isn't announced. Not sure if if Aguilar or Sanchez are going to be back in the mix, and what that means for obviously Encarnacion and Lewin Diaz. Clearly, you would expect if those two guys are back, then those two guys would be optioned back down to AAA. Wait and see on that one, I guess. But nevertheless, outfield. No outfielders for the Fish, and the pitching vote, as we know, is not a fan vote, and so that will be voted in more in line with performance on the field, let's say. And I think that's the fun thing about this fan vote. It's for fan engagement, but clearly, well, just to call it out, by the way, Mookie Betts is leading the way. Ronnie Acuna, number 2, Jock Peterson in 3rd, Starling Marte in 4th, old friend Starling, and Juan Soto in 5th. Adam Duvall in 6th. So, there's some wild thing. The Braves getting a big bump. Marcell Ozuna in 8th. Listen, the Braves, they just love to vote for their guys. They've got a lot of following. They love voting. And actually, I think they love Jazz too. And that's what I was saying about Jazz in second base. Now Ozzy's out of the picture. Problem, I don't think voting for Jazz instead and getting him there. So it kind of sums up the Marlins, though, in some ways this year where, the guys that have really popped, it's been, fundamentally, it's been Jazz and it's been Coop. They've been the two guys that have shown the consistency. Aggie's had some nice runs too and is being recognized. Other than that, it's been, obviously we mentioned BA and Wendell being down. Miggy, nice glove, but that doesn't have the offense to get himself into this, fan vote mix. And then the outfield's just been too inconsistent and no production really from Stallings. Fortes has had more production than Stallings, perhaps. But John Birdie's been the other flashpoint as well, of course. And they should have a utility guy, a utility option within the All-Star voting because they do need the utility guys, and John Birdie has absolutely been that this year. He probably should be an All-Star as a util guy, not only doing what he does offensively and with the glove, but obviously leading the league in stolen bases too. So he does everything. I think Jazz, as I've already mentioned, will win the second base job here and will start. And clearly, I believe that Sandy will be voted in. The question then is, will he string any nice starts together? He's kind of fell out of the mix slightly in the past few weeks. Obviously, he had the comebacker into the hand, push to start back, but we're going to see Pablo in this Rocky series at home. Clearly, that should be a nice matchup for him as well. So, Pablo, I think there's still time for him to get back in the mix. Other guys are dealing with injuries too. Obviously, like big guys like Walker Buehler, for example. Max Scherzer still working his way back. A lot of injuries are starting to hit now. So, it'd be interesting to see if Pablo can make that push. We're going to dig into the Rocky series just very briefly now. But before we do that, guys, reminder, this episode, it's also brought to you by Built Bar. And, it's still mud pie season. You know how our friends at Built are always coming out with amazing new flavors. Well, this time Built, they have truly outdone themselves with their new mud pie flavor. Boy, oh boy. And for the first time ever, Built is introducing the new mud pie flavor in both mud pie bar and mud pie puff. Yes, mud pie. Sensational. Not sure what mud pie tastes like? Well, if you're a chocolate fan, you better sit down for this. The new mud pie bar is rich whipped cream and chocolate mousse, smothered in 100% real chocolate and topped with cookies and cream crumble. You've got to try mud pie as soon as possible. And you need to hurry because the mud pie bar and mud pie puff are only available for a limited time. Visit built.com to taste the deliciousness for yourself. Are you not convinced? Have I not convinced you yet? If I haven't, we've saved the best for last. It's actually good for you. Really. No, really. All Built products are low calories, high protein, and low sugar. Mud pie is packed with 16 grams of protein, 150 calories, and 8 grams of sugar. It's like your mum baked the most delicious, creamy chocolate mud pie and wrapped it up just for you. So if you're liking what you're hearing, and then get yourselves over to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 as LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Okay, then, guys, let's wrap up with this Rockies series and the Marlins. It's a 3-game series back in Miami now. We've got an interesting matchup here. We've got Dan the Man Castano going for the Fish. Obviously, looking at his record now, Castano, he's 0-1 with a 0.000 ERA. Not conceded a run yet, this year for Dan Castano. Had a stunning start against the Phils. The Marlins obviously blew that game in the end, which was disappointing, but I'm really intrigued to see what Dan Castano can do. The same situation for him as Braxton Garrett, where both guys now maybe will feel that they're going to get a decent run at this. They're going to get a nice run at it. You've got some guys starting to work themselves back. We've seen Lazard from Christina Di Nicola today, but it seems some way off. We did see some Edward Cabrera news as well, and so that looked more encouraging. Edward Cabrera and Max Meyer are appearing for Jacksonville tomorrow, so that's interesting. The Edward Cabrera news for me sounded worrying when it came out, but clearly it's a relatively short stint. He's back, he's throwing, he's going to be pitching for Jacksonville, as is Max Meyer. So, nevertheless, it's nice for Castano and for Braxton Garrett to have some consistent playing time here, knowing that they're going to be getting a few turns in the rotation, no up and down with the rotation back and forth. They can just kind of settle in, make 3 or 4 starts, see how it goes. So I'm really intrigued to see what Brax can do. Just on the injury updates, briefly, Sixto, he's also got a 20 pitch side tomorrow. I'm not totally clear what that means, but he's maybe throwing 20 pitches. So Sixto's working his way back. Where are we going to go with Sixto Sanchez? I think this, as already mentioned, I think the season's done fundamentally for the Fish. I think it's highly improbable that they make a wild card push. With that being said, there's some interesting decisions to make about Sixto. Sounds like Sixto's way behind Max Meyer, but from Sixto, for me, for the Fish, shut him down for the year. Shut him down. No rushing back. Even if he doesn't pitch an inning in the minor leagues, no problem. No problem with that. I think the year's lost. Let's get Sixto healthy. Let's get him right. Max Meyer, I'm intrigued about. Very intrigued about, because he's obviously he's had his injury back. The Marlins need some guys for the rotation, kind of. Obviously, Braxton and Dan Castano have stepped in right now, but Max Meyer, does he get an opportunity now? Is it the right time for Max Meyer? No, I'm not sure. I'm interested to see where the Marlins go with that. I really am, because he's not on the 40-man, so they have to clear a 40-man spot. They could clear one because there's guys on the 40-man that don't really have a long-term future with the Fish. But if they do highly rate him, which I believe they do, then clearly there's an opportunity for extra years of control, etc., by just keeping Max down there and just leave him in the minors this year. It's totally possible. Or maybe they give him a run in September. We'll wait and see, but I'm intrigued to see where that goes. Bender's playing catch. Holloway's with Jupiter tomorrow. Poteet, 20-pitch pen today, so for Poteet. And then Peyton Henry's had right thumb surgery. No clear timeline on what that means in terms of the length of time, but likely a decent stint for Peyton Henry. So generally positive updates for the Marlins pitchers there. Equally as well, there's news on BA and Joey Wendell as well, who are both kind of working their way back and playing rehab games later this week. So, those guys are working their way back. I was really concerned about Brian Anderson at one point. Like, I think takes were made, called it last week, saying he's seen a spine specialist. I mean, this does not sound good. But it sounds like they're working their way back. They're on course to be back, let's say in a week or so's time, maybe slightly more, which is good news for the Fish, clearly. So really, good updates injury-wise. I kind of read through them and thought, okay, good. Everyone's kind of trending in the right direction. In the meantime, the Marlins 29-36 taking on the 30-37 Rockies. Feltner's going for the Rockies, as he did in that, I believe, in the last series too. He's 1-2 with a 4.85 ERA. You then look into Wednesday's game. Pablo Lopez going for the Fish. Cool will be going for the Rockies. He's had a nice year, 4-4 with a 3.69 ERA. Pablo sitting at 4-3, 2.85 ERA. And then a UK-friendly Thursday game. at 5:10, 5:10 UK time. So that is going to be, what's that going to be? That's going to be 12:10 Eastern. So that's an early start there. And you've got Carl Freeland going against Braxton Garrett. Freeland the lefty, Braxton Garrett the lefty on lefty matchup. As I said on yesterday's pod, and as we've seen for the Fish, boy oh boy, it's not been the offense against lefties. I'm not sure why, because there's so many power righty bats in the lineup and guys that should be hitting well against lefties, but it's been a constant, not just this year, but I think for multiple years, the past couple of years, just soft tossing lefties. The Marlins hitters just can't get it going against them. But it's going to be an interesting series. They've got Braxton and Castano going with Pablo in there too. Then you're kind of into another Met series, Sandy Alcantara going on Friday in that one. So, it's going to be interesting. The Rockies don't play well on the road. The Marlins have been playing pretty well at home. And so the Marlins should be expecting to win this series. However, it's almost one of those situations where, if you get a sweep, does it bring us back to life? Maybe it does, but I feel like the Marlins are pretty well far adrift now, and so we're starting to get into that position of what do we do with J. Ryan Encarnacion? What do we do with Lewin Diaz? How do we open up some playing time for these boys, some young guys, some young blood? Because really, the roster is as it was maybe around opening day. It's quite a veteran-heavy offense in the main. You've got kind of Jazz and Jesus, but other than that, it feels pretty vet heavy. There's a lot of experience, a lot of, however you want to phrase it, but there's a lot of experience in there. And, sometimes some youthful exuberance can help for sure and just add a bit of a spark to the clubhouse. So I'm intrigued to see what they do for sure. No lineup announced as yet. It's 9:15 my time. So lineup should be, being posted relatively shortly, but we don't have them right now. So we'll call it a day for today. It's a solo pod again. Me, 2 days in a row solo. Yesterday's pod didn't go as planned with the audio. Hopefully this one comes through better. But guys, that's me, Peter Pratt, done with Locked On Marlins today. And we'll be back tomorrow, of course. And I'll need to get a guest in here, guys, to freshen it up, right? I'll bring a guest in and help us kind of, I guess, dig into what happened in game one, this Dan Castano start. And as well, we'll be looking ahead to game two. Pablo Lopez going in game two. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the game tonight and back tomorrow.